Probation officer noted Frank Nausigimana needed help with impulse control. He came to Canada as a young man from a conflict-filled East African country and set his mind to successfully learning English and American Sign Language. Nausigimana's defense attorney, Mike Cook, said his client had a difficult upbringing in his home country, the East African nation of Burundi. There he witnessed civil unrest, war, and death on a daily basis. We look at the world through our Canadian eyes, and that type of life is a nightmare. My client lived through that, Cook said. So Mike Cook is his lawyer. Nausigimana moved to Winnipeg, Canada with his mom in 2009, but she struggled with alcoholism. And Nausigimana wound up in foster care after his mother left the city. His foster father told the probation officer he felt that Nausigimana was a few years older than the age of 17 he was assigned upon immigrating. So sometimes in order to get into the country, they'll state that they're not an adult so that they can go with somebody else, and that woman will say that they're that person's mother. So he also alleged that the woman that brought him into Canada might not have been his mother and believed Nausigimana was used as a meal ticket due to his disability, the report said. So Frank Nausigimana soon became highly regarded at the Manitoba School for the Deaf for his great disposition, charity work, and for holding the title of Student Prime Minister. For 2 straight years, a pastor at Winnipeg's Calvary Temple noted his twice-weekly attendance at services and leadership role with the church's deaf community. So he was hearing impaired. He couldn't hear. So, look, it's easier to get in the country if you're a child, and then if you have a disability when you get here, whoever's claiming to be your mother gets more money. So, there's kind of a finesse. Let's see what we can do. He gets into Canada, he's going to church, he's thriving in the school for the deaf, claiming to be 17 years old while they give him an education. And so he, in January 2019, pled guilty to assaulting the mother of his daughter back in 2017 in an effort to force her to abort their then unborn child. So he tried to force her to ingest an unknown liquid he believed would trigger her to lose the fetus, is what the woman told the court. Court heard that he grew up with a different view of the role of women, and coming to Canada was a paradigm shift. So Frank said his only goal was to abort the baby. The baby's mother told court in 2017. The two were not in a romantic relationship, but had been friends for about 7 years at the time, she said. The woman sought a protection order from Judicial Justice of the Peace days after the March attack, saying through an American Sign Language interpreter that Nausigimana had tried to force her to drink a poison of some sort, a liquid. He put his hands against his head and forced it to my face, and I realized that was what his intention was. He wanted me to smell it so it would actually kill the baby, she said in sworn testimony. He wasn't listening to me. I told him no, but he forced it on me, she said. The woman managed to escape the car and went to the hospital soon after for tests. She complained of a rash around her eyes that a doctor said made it look like she'd been punched. It was the effect of being splashed with an unknown liquid, she told court. The woman testified that Nausigimana said he wanted her to have an abortion upon hearing she was pregnant. So I guess he's got like this other deaf girl that's not necessarily his girlfriend, but they're hooking up. He got her pregnant. He's trying to get her to inhale some type of chemical that he believes will trigger a miscarriage. She won't do it, so he just throws the acid in her face. In a temper tantrum. He really wanted to get rid of the baby. So the first thing he said was that he didn't want to have anything to do with it, and that he thought, yes, he wanted to abort the baby, and started doing a plan to do so. No, he didn't. She didn't want to, but He said that he wants to, and he was going to force her to, and then he tried to. So she testified about it, and he was sentenced to a year of supervised probation. So, because nothing happened to her, I don't know if anything happened to the fetus, not that it would really matter to the eyes of the law anyways. He got a year of supervised probation. So that was the first sign of a bit of trouble, maybe an anger issue, or he's not really handling himself in a civilized manner, but they say, well, he's been through, a lot in life, and we're gonna keep an eye on him. So they looked at his background and his feelings about the assault. He's a hardworking young man. He met a number of challenges in life, but he lived mostly as an upstanding life after immigrating to Canada from the Republic of Burundi in 2009. But there's no remorse for assaulting the woman, who was a longtime friend. So the probation officer interviewed him, noted after he pleaded guilty, it appears the subject takes minimal responsibility for his actions in this offense. The officer said despite this admission, he did not communicate any form of regret for his criminal behavior or for compassion for the victim. While Nausigimana said he'd never do it again, he was equivocal about what he had done. The officer suggested he rationalized his criminal behavior with feelings he was lied to and had suspicions that the victim was not being honest with him about the pregnancy. The report states it was identified that the primary problem Mr. Nausigimana faces is his clear lack of consequences for his actions. So I guess the probation officer said, you should give him some jail time because he seems to be unrepentant about all of it. And nothing seemingly happening to him. So they found, the probation officer's interview found that he showed a significant lack of remorse for criminal behavior. So, he was resistant to the idea of serving a year of supervised probation as punishment for the assault. He stated, if it happens, it happens, but he made it clear he didn't believe he was a bad person, and that he does not think that is something he deserves. So Nausigimana told the officer he spoke with his father, a civil servant in Burundi, a mother in Ottawa, every day. He refused to provide contact information for them. At the time the report was written, Nausigimana was employed at a trucking company. His manager said he was a good employee but had some attitude issues. He attributed to Nausigimana's relative youth. So the officer ultimately rated Nausigimana as low risk to reoffend based on results from his risk assessment tool. And he recommended the judge impose conditions on Nausigimana, including attending anger management and domestic violence counseling to help with engaging in impulse control going forward. So days after the protection order was granted, Nausigimana applied to have it revoked, saying he'd asked the woman to go to the hospital to remove the baby, but she had refused. I grabbed the bottle. Then I grabbed the bottle, he wrote in his requested revocation. I only wanted to put it in her mouth as she drank it. Nausigimana said he was tired of hearing about how she wanted to have the baby. I already told her I don't want to make the baby, he said, so she used me. In May 2017, as a part of the revocation process, the mother met with Manitoba Justice Victim Services, who placed a letter on the court outlining in the interview, noting that he faced criminal charges in connection with that assault. But the mother said she wanted Nausigimana to be able to attend church. They both went at the same time and was in shock that the protection order had been granted. She believes the church is assisting in counseling Nausigimana, and she's also receiving counseling and support. Nausigimana provided a letter asking for forgiveness, and she has forgiven him, the letter said. Less than a month later, the mother returned to court to try to cancel a protection order, saying she'd forgiven Nausigimana. I trust him. He won't do it to me again. I will take care of the child alone. So the protection order was revoked in September 2017, and then commenced the messy custody battle with his ex-partner. Nausigimana was upset he only had supervised visits with his daughter. So, yeah. The daughter he fought tooth and nail to not have, now he's mad because He only has supervised visits with the daughter. Um, so he's not supposed to really have any contact with the mother because of the criminal protection order. But he claims that the mother unilaterally started to refuse him access to the child, but I thought that was the arrangement of what he wanted. But as of January 8th, 2021, he had an issue with that. In February, he applied for joint custody of the girl, saying he wanted mutual decision-making authority with the mother. So he wanted to be part of the decision-making for the child, specified periods of care and control over the child, and order the mother not to leave Manitoba with the girl without his permission. So he was concerned the mother might abruptly move with the child, court records show. The mother responded soon after by saying she'd be open to allowing him specified periods of care and control over the child, but not joint custody nor mutual decision-making, among other things, due to previous ongoing domestic violence issues with Nausigimana while she was pregnant. And currently the mother no longer wishes to communicate with Nausigimana. Her lawyer wrote that, so the mother countered by saying she'd asked the court for orders including sole custody, that Nausigimana only have limited supervised access to the child. It's not possible for both parties to co-parent effectively, and joint custody would not be appropriate for the circumstances. So apparently then he forced himself into his ex-partner's car, directed her to drive. She was distraught, so he made her pull over, at which point she ran away, believing he would not hurt their daughter. So Nausigimana is 28 by this point, is in provincial lockup for brutally killing his daughter, Jemimah, who is 3 years old, in what police allege is a horrific case of first-degree murder. So when you view it through that lens, now we gotta ask ourselves, okay, what's this custody battle about? Because that sounded confusing. Yeah, let me get the daughter unsupervised. I need it unsupervised. And the mom's like, well, I mean, I want a father for my daughter. And then she's like, no, the guy's fucking crazy. No. There's too many instances. Like, no. So when that didn't work, he just basically kidnapped them. And then when the mom escaped, he just said, well, I'm going to murder my daughter. And that's what he's accused of doing, apparently. So, yeah. They said it was brutal, horrific. He used a paring knife to stab Jemimah twice in her chest. And he communicates via sign language. He stopped the person driving and typed a message in his phone telling the person to call 911 because he had just killed his daughter. The report said Nausigimana was experiencing rage at the time of his daughter's homicide and that he couldn't control. The girl was fatally stabbed on Wednesday, July 7th, 2021 morning, Winnipeg police said, after Nausigimana allegedly abducted her from the mother at knifepoint and drove off. So yeah, an interesting situation there, I guess. A little girl, a pretty little girl. I personally always wanted a daughter, and this guy just really was fighting tooth and nail not to have one. And then he was fighting tooth and nail to have her, but I guess maybe that wouldn't have worked out too great. More than likely, seeing as he stabbed her twice in the chest with a paring knife. Officers found him in the vehicle around Jefferson Avenue in King Edward. Soon after, Jemimah was inside. Jemimah, I should be pronouncing the little girl's name correctly. Jemimah was inside suffering from stab wounds. She was rushed to hospital in critical condition and pronounced dead. I can't imagine the grief, the pain family members are experiencing, the constable said at the news conference. It's unbelievably horrific. Murray said emergency personnel provided first aid and did everything they could, and the staff involved were shaken by the experience. According to Murray, it was a matter of minutes from the time the initial call came to when police believed the child was fatally injured. All this unfolded in an incredibly incredibly tight time frame, he said, suggesting there was no time to issue an Amber Alert. The mother and father split up soon after their daughter's birth, Murray said, and there hadn't been contact between them in recent months. Nausigimana faced the prospect of a life sentence without the chance of parole for 25 years if found guilty of the first-degree murder. The baby's mom said, "I thought he loved our daughter, but how could he do this?" she said in her statement. That was read in the court. She said the events from that last summer are a nightmare she can't wake up from. The grandfather of the baby, who was wearing a t-shirt bearing the girl's picture, depicting her as an angel, read in his impact statement, "Because of what you did, we'll never see her grow into her potential. You took away the bright future we had for her. Every night when I go to sleep, I have a nightmare. She loves to hug me and my family, but now she's gone, and there are no more hugs from her. All I can hug now is her elephant and her polar bear stuffed toys. There's no sentence that I can impose that will heal the pain from the loss of this child," the judge said in her decision. "The killing of one's own child falls within one of the worst offenses imaginable once they reach beyond a certain age, if you can prove that they killed them. Second-degree murder carries a mandatory life sentence, but parole eligibility can range from 10 to 25 years. The Crown asked that he do 19 before he's eligible for parole, while defense said 17. The family said to give him the 25. He told Dr. Eric Johnson, a psychiatrist who issued a written forensic statement, that if his ex had approved me to see the baby would be alive. I don't really follow that logic. So he's clearly blaming her for his horrific intentional acts. The court also heard he hadn't planned to kill the daughter, but wanted to hurt her or kill his ex and her father. Nausigimana told the psychiatrist that if she didn't agree to 50-50 custody, he planned to kill her or cut out her eyes so she couldn't see her child grow up. Okay, so this is a tragic case of domestic violence that led to the vicious murder of 3-year-old Jemimah. Yeah, I wonder why he didn't get that 50-50 custody there. In American Sign Language, translated by the interpreter, Nausigimana apologized for killing his daughter last summer, but blamed his ex-partner for keeping his daughter from him. "I asked God in prayers that hearts would change so I would be able to have time with my daughter. I pray to God to forgive my ex and her parents and family for what they did to me," he said. The man who admitted stabbing a 3-year-old daughter to death in Winnipeg last July will not be eligible for parole for 18 years on the second degree. And we'll see if he gets it. So yeah, sitting in church 2 times a week, and he prays that God will forgive the family for not letting him see the baby that he killed, because it's on them. And I'm sure he believes God forgave him, but yeah, your typical Christian narcissist, deranged, baby murderer, and he's sign languaging all of this, so like, it's like when you text something, like, you can push send, like, I don't know if it's the same with sign language, if it's just comes out your mouth, you sign it the same way, but yeah, interesting perspective he had there. And the mom was even like, "Why does he gotta go to court? We gotta go to church." So I don't know if that was really his mom or not, but yeah, he kind of apologized for it and then blamed the family. This case draws comparisons to the stabbing death of 3-year-old Hunter Smith Strait. Hunter was found with multiple stab wounds when police arrived at the house on Pritchard Avenue in the city's north end around 2:30 a.m. on October 30th, 2019. Hunter was taken to hospital in grave condition, given 2 blood transfusions, and put on life support. He was taken off life support On November 2nd, 2019 afternoon, his Aunt Roxanne Moore had told CBC News. So Hunter's mother, Clarice Smith, was holding his hand when he died, Moore said. Bianca Smith, another one of Hunter's aunts, said she's feeling drained and torn inside. He was like my own, she said in a message on Saturday. My life forever changed. I don't think this even hit me yet. I don't know how I'm going to handle this when it does, she wrote in an earlier Facebook post. I couldn't close my eyes for days, read a Crown attorney on behalf of Roxanne Moore. Hunter's aunt is talking here. She said, I was by his bedside when he took his last breath. No amount of money can take away the hurt of losing my nephew or the anger I feel for the man that took him. Excuse me. So Moore described Hunter as a smart, happy, full of life 3-year-old who wanted to grow up to be a police officer before his life was taken too soon. Other family members did not submit statements, but did ask the Crown to convey to the court the grief and trauma that will remain with them for the rest of their lives. So Naomi Nicholas, a counselor with Broken Head Ojibwe Nation, a community located about 65 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg, spoke to CBC on behalf of Hunter's father and said he wants the entire world to know that he loved his son. She says, choking back tears, adding that he's heavily grieving right now. He wanted to share Hunter's last moments when he squeezed his father's hands after being taken off life support. It's been truly devastating to the family. It's devastation for the whole world, she said. I'm hoping to bring awareness that we need to protect all of our children. So Constable Rob Carver said on Saturday during a Saturday morning press conference that everyone in the community is affected by the death. 2 vigils were held earlier in support of the child. Volunteers from the Bear Clan provided some meals and coffee for the family while they're at the hospital and held a sage ritual in honor of Hunter prior to patrolling the streets. The family has to live with every day and will for the rest of their life. People in the community who may have even known the individual but live there are traumatized as they know someone's been killed on their block or the same street in their community. I think it touches everyone who hears about it in different ways. So the responding officers are traumatized as well. The police said that night Hunter was stabbed and Daniel Jensen, 33 years old, who is not the child's biological father, was with Smith, his on-again, off-again girlfriend, at a location on Main Street when they got into an argument that escalated into a violent assault. Clarice Smith suffered a number of injuries in that incident, police said. They're not believed to be life-threatening, but I don't want to characterize them as minor either. So from there, police said Jensen walked to the home a few blocks away on Pritchard Avenue between Salter and Charles Street and attacked Hunter. The night Hunter was stabbed, the mother Clarice told Jensen she was leaving him. This is the way he handled it, I guess. Crown attorneys told court that Jensen killed the child to get back at her in the cruelest way possible, adding the core of the case is domestic abuse. The Crown's arguments were supported by witness testimony, DNA evidence, and surveillance footage presented in court, pointing to Jensen as the killer. Jensen's team, however, argued that Jensen was largely the case was largely circumstantial, as no one saw him attack the boy. Jensen did not speak before the court, though defense did speak on his behalf. Jensen's mother extended sympathy to Hunter's family. Jensen will have no chance of parole until October 29th, 2044, which is 25 years after his arrest. In addition to the life sentence, Jensen received a lifetime weapons prohibition and a mandatory DNA order. Members of Hunter's family spoke on the steps outside of the courthouse holding several large pictures of Hunter. We are relieved to have justice for Hunter, though it does not bring him back to us, said Charlene Strait, Hunter's grandmother. We feel that justice has been served and Hunter may rest in peace now. Thank you to everyone who supported our family through this terrible nightmare. So, killing the innocent child to hurt the mother. There are a lot of cold killers who still will not kill a child. It's common knowledge you cannot kill a child. You can kill your enemies, but a child is off limits. Children are viewed as innocent. These were the breed of murderers who chose to kill a child as a means to torment the women they were individually abusing. The particularly heinous and dickless modus operandi, the ultimate forms of spousal and child abuse. Every child is a gift. These men received life sentences with lengthy parole eligibility periods that won't bring these babies back from the grave. Women need to learn from these situations about the type of men they choose to have children with and the type of men they allow to have around their children and them. It's extremely difficult to understand how anyone could do what these men did, yet it happens all too often in this city. There was hope for a better future that brought Frank Nausigimana to Canada. Unfortunately, he threw that all away. He'll have plenty of time to learn English and sign language behind bars nonetheless. His daughter will never get that opportunity. Winnipegology.